Welcome back to Mr. Cohane's online lesson. This is our next lesson on algebra, variables, and expressions. Now some of you don't know what a variable is, so I think it's important that we get it down in our notes. A variable is a symbol, usually a letter, that is used to represent a number. Now, sometimes in class we've come across some challenging problems that do include variable. And what that is it has a letter. For example, it could be X. Where some people have said, Mr. Cohane, I don't know what this is. It's an X. What do I do? Well, that's what we're going to work on today. We're going to work on using those letters and what they could represent. For example, in this one, 5 times X. In this case, our variable is X. X is truthfully a typical variable that's used, but it could be really any letter. It could be any symbol as well, but typically we'll deal with letters. In this case, 5 times X. Now I'm going to show you a couple different ways that this could be written. Now many of you probably know if we want to do 5 times X, you would just do the multiplication symbol, and that's one way to write it. But typically when we're dealing with variables, we do multiplication in all different ways. And in fact, I want to show you 3 addition. One of them could be 5x next to each other. When you see the variable and the number just right next to each other with really no space, that just means multiply. Another way to do it would be 5 and then put x in the parentheses. Again, it means the same thing as 5 times x. Now one more. This is 5 and a dot and x. That dot right there, it's floating, it's in the middle. It's not like a decimal point down here. It's in the middle. That also means multiplication. I know if you're just looking at this, you're like, wow, how am I supposed to know that all 4 of those know multiplication? Well, the more you work with it, the more you'll get used to it. Now, let's dive into variables. And there we go. We're going to evaluate 16 plus b if b equals 25. Now right away I can tell your eyes are drawn to evaluate 16 plus b. And right now you just want to dive right in and solve it. And that's usually a good thing. But with variables you got to look for what other information is given. So we know what we have to do is we have to evaluate 16 plus b. But how do I add 16 and b? Well, look at what other information is given. In this case, it says b equals 25. So what you have to do is anytime you see a b in the equation, you have to substitute it with 25. So in this case, it would be 16 plus b, but b equals 25. So it's 16 plus 25. Looks a little bit easier to solve, right? So let's do it. 16 plus 25. 6 plus 5 is 11, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 41. And the answer is 41. Again, when you see a variable, look for other information. In this case, b equals 25, so we just substitute the b for the 25. And here's another example. This is evaluate 5t plus 4 if t equals 3. Now right away we know the question is to evaluate what is that, so we have to solve that. 5 times t. Notice when I initially read it, I just said 5t. That's okay, because it's implied that it's multiplying when it's right next to each other. 5 times t plus 4 if t equals 3. Good. Let's substitute. 5 and t equals 3, so it's 5 times 3 plus 4. Excellent. Now if you remember our order of operations from the previous lesson, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Multiplication comes before addition. So in this case, 5 times 3 is 15. I'll bring down my plus 4. 15 plus 4 is 19, and therefore our answer is 19. Again, the variable was t. We looked at what other information was given, and in this case t equals 3, substituted it into our order of operations. On your paper, I had some for you to try on your own that we'll start class with. And there's 3 problems. Again, you're evaluated. 7D, and a few others. Now, here's the clue. Look at what other information is given. On your note sheet, I told you what the variables equal. So anytime you see a D, you're going to substitute it for 5/10. Anytime you see a K, you're going to substitute it with 4. Now, I want to caution you. Here, evaluate 7D. Remember, that's 7 times D. Same thing with here. D in parentheses K, that is just D times K minus 2. And here, K minus 2D, remember our order of operations. Please do the multiplication first before the subtraction. Good luck with this, and we'll see you in class.